Hey guys, so I was just thinking of a situation that happened when I was preparing to go for my license back in 2010. I used to go for drives with a friend. He'd let me drive his car and he'd be in the passenger seat. And on one of these occasions, I was driving down this main road, which is a 40 zone. I don't know what 40 kilometers is in miles, but 40 kilometers is painfully slow. And it's the speed limit that's usually given to areas where there's high foot traffic. So areas where there's shops and cafes and restaurants and stuff on that street, then the speed limit will generally be about 40. And I think the 40 zone is only within sort of inner Melbourne. Once you're in the suburbs, I think the lowest the speed limit gets is 50. And that's for residential streets, but yeah. Anyway, so I mentioned the speed limit because of what happens. So I'm driving along, and in the distance I could see there was this guy crossing the road, but he was far enough ahead that I didn't need to alter anything that I was doing, because if he was crossing the road normally, then he would have already reached the footpath by the time I got to that point. But I was still watching him, and it was a road like this. There's 2 lanes of traffic on either side. For either direction there's 2 lanes, but the lane closest to the footpath on either side is taken up by parked cars. So it's only really 1 lane of moving traffic in either direction. This is actually a 40 zone as well that I'm in right now. So he started from that side of the road and was crossing. He got to like the middle of my lane and then stopped, and then went back the way he came, stopped, and then came back again and was in the middle of my lane as I was, approaching. So I'm thinking, what the fuck is this guy doing? And I was going to beep, and in that instant where I was going to beep, he pulled out a gun and pointed it at me. And I shit myself, and I put my head down like near the steering wheel, and tried to drive around him. But instead of driving around him to the right and being temporarily on the wrong side of the road, I went around him to the left and went between him and a parked car, or parked cars. So by doing that, I took out a parked car, took its bumper like pretty much completely off. It was just hanging on by one screw, like one end of the bar was still attached, but the rest was on the ground. Then I stopped about a metre before going through a shop front, and there's a lot of restaurants in this part of the road. So across the road from where this happened, there's a restaurant. It's a 2-story restaurant that's all glass fronted, and it's on the corner of this main road and a side street, so it's like a corner building. And from when I got out of the car, I remember looking across the road and just seeing all these faces pressed up against the glass, like looking to see what's going on. So good thing about that, there's no shortage of witnesses. The car that was behind us, I believe, stopped and waited for the police. I think it was actually even them that called the police. And they offered to be witness and all of that stuff, so that was good of them to do that. And the police came, we gave statements and all of that kind of thing. And the owners of the car that I hit still hadn't come back, so the police were, they were wrapping things up, ready to leave. They'd been there for a while, and they'd done what they needed to do. So yeah, everything's getting wrapped up, ready to move on. They were just telling us, what details to leave on a note put on their windscreen and stuff. So we were just finishing writing the note when the owners of that car came back, and they were really pissed off. They'd just been out to a lovely dinner. It was like a double date. 2 guys, 2 girls. They were just coming back from one of the restaurants to find their cars all kinds of fucked up. And once they spoke to the police, and the police like let them know what the situation was, then, you know, they were a little more understanding. But initially, they were really pissed off. Understandably, but yeah, they were really pissed off. I found out later that the gun wasn't real. But in that split second that you have in that instance to make a decision and react, thinking about whether or not the gun is real is not high on the list of things to do. What the fuck are you doing? Oh, fucking hell. You're not gonna make that. Yep, that's the footpath. Anyway, so I didn't even think about whether it was real or not at the time. In hindsight, it makes sense because guns just aren't really a big thing here. They're not common, and carjackings and mass shootings, murders, gun violence is just not a regular occurrence here. So yes, thinking about it now, it is more likely that it was fake rather than real. But in that moment, you're not gonna test fate and stick around to find out. But yeah, I mean, I know a lot of you guys are from the US, so this kind of thing is probably not so rare. And maybe you have come across a similar circumstance, or a friend or family member or something like that has been in a situation like this or worse. So yeah, let me know if you have. I'll be interested to hear your stories. So yeah, let me know. That would be cool. I mean, it's not cool that that happens, but you know, I would like to hear your stories if you have any. And yes, so that was my story. I look forward to reading yours. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you.